And then he said that Wushu was like kind of dying out almost. And it's
Yeah.
like, how is it in the UK?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. The popularity of wushu in England has literally fallen apart in the last 15 to 20 years. And that really is a direct result of how the sport has changed. And the International Wushu Federation determine basically the direction of wushu. Because of the Olympic drive, they've tried to make the sport more appealing to the Olympics. So
Right.
the rules and the regulations have all changed, and obviously how you perform wushu on the carpet for competition is designed around the rules and regulations. It's very, very complicated now, and it's very difficult for just normal people to understand. To be fair, even a lot of athletes and coaches still don't fully understand the up-to-date rules and regulations, and as a result, it just really puts people off. Whereas sort of 80s and 90s style wushu, it's much easier to understand. You can see the difference between something that's good and something that's not good, and it's fun to do. More importantly, it's fun for kids to do. Whereas now it's very, very boring for kids to do.
Really?
Simply because the emphasis on competition wushu requires very, very boring training. It's not like karate or taekwondo or anything like that where you've got grades or colored belts or stages of development.
Yeah, there's no, because when you have belts, like even now in BJJ when I'm training, so I have my white belt. I just started, and then you look forward because you have for each belt you have like 4 grades. And then you also can evaluate who is going to be rolling with you. So they have blue belts, 2nd grade. So it's like, what's their level? And they kind of also looking after it, forward to it. And when they get belts, it just feels like such an achievement. It's it's a lot of people finish after they got the blue belt because they're like, oh, I'm done. But yeah, so wushu and kung fu doesn't have that either.
Some traditional kung fu styles do. That's
So
why
there's
traditional
samba. Was it not samba? No. Where they actually fight as well.
Sanda.
Sanda.
So Sanda comes under the umbrella of wushu. It's like it is the fighting competition side of wushu. Individual clubs may have gradings and belts and all that kind of stuff, but actual wushu for competition has no gradings at club level or national level. Certainly not in England. Maybe some clubs in and around Europe might have that, but the real issue is because wushu is a sport and not a martial art. It's trained as a sport. You train in the gym, you train physical exercises, and then you train your basics, like stances and all of that kind of stuff. And it's a very, very difficult and boring process for kids, especially because there is no early achievements. There's nothing to look forward to.
Or like a visible achievements.
Exactly, yeah. And it can be quite tedious just doing stance work and basics, session in, session out. So, and that's the same throughout Europe as well. So the popularity of wushu in the last 15 years, the last 20, 15 years, is really, really sort of decreased so much. And it's a shame because it's killing the sport.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful sport as well.
It
I mean,
really
like
is,
now
yeah.
probably because of the MMA and UFC, because of that is so popular now, everyone wants to grapple, everyone wants to do MMA. And it's interesting, like I noticed people want to do MMA a couple years ago, and then they just go training, get beaten up. They're like, no, I don't want to do this. And then grappling comes in. Oh, I can do that. I don't get beaten up. Like one of the clubs I'm into, like this morning, I actually had my session, and you can see some of those guys like there just because to attend. It's like they don't even want to go even break a sweat. They're like, oh no, okay, but I'm doing BJJ. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those. I was, I was submitting blue belt today like nothing. I'm just a beginner,
Yeah.
But the guy was like, you could see the other white belts were submitting him as well. Sorry, I just kind of went with something else. But so in the last 20 years is going down. Which are the countries which are dominating? Is it China dominating in wushu?
So the sport is now very Asian dominated. Russia is the only professional team in Europe. So obviously Russia maintain a very, very high standard all the time. And they have dominated Europe in the last 20 years. Although there have been occasions when non-Russian athletes have beaten Russia in Europe and in the World Championships. But generally, the sport is very, very Asian dominated, with China being at the top, Indonesia being a close second.
Oh, Indonesia, really?
So Indonesia, I would say, are the best Wushu team outside of China in the world. Their athletes are very, very well trained, high technical skill, high physical ability. A friend of mine, Edgar, he's currently world Wushu champion.
Shout out to Edgar.
Shout out to Edgar. And he consistently performs very, very well at the world championships. He's currently Indonesia's top athlete.
How do you spell his name?
Edgar
A-R.
Marvello, so space Marv, Marv ELLO. There you go, Edgar Marvello Wushu. So this chap is very, very. I've watched him since he was a junior, because I've been around for centuries, and now he's a senior, and he is definitely the best Wushu athlete at the moment outside of China.
I never think of that Indonesia. They were strong in Wushu. You never really see that. And I just lived in Indonesia for 7 months.
Yeah.
Maybe in Bali, that's not the place where they hang out.
No, the national team trains in Jakarta. But I mean, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was Malaysia. Malaysia was the top team. And then it was Korea. And then it was Vietnam. And Japan have had their time as well. Now it's Indonesia.
Right. How old is this video?
This is the 2019 World Championships in Shanghai.
Were you there?
I was there, yeah.
You were there. Jesus Christ, look at that speed.
So Edgar is quite well known for doing his double twisting moves. So this is a jumping outside kick, 720, absolutely nailed. Then he sets up for his second one, a jumping inside 720.
You should work as a commentator for Wushu competitions. Look at you. And right now, he's attempting this one.
But he hits absolutely everything spot on, and he nails his routines. But you'll notice that the format of his routine and everybody else's is all about the big jumps first. It's just jump, 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 and then comes a bit of Wushu to finish off the routine. Whereas if you go back into the 80s and 90s,
they would start with the big moves first.
Well, in the 80s and 90s, it was massively full of Wushu techniques, different punches, different kicks, combinations, styles, all sorts.
Whereas tiger style and all that stuff.
It was full of flavour, full of Wushu style and flavour. Now the competition, when you do the routine to score the highest mark, you have to hit all the big jumps, get them done and out the way, and then you do all the technical moves like this, and then you just fill out the routine with the most simple things that you can do to maximise your top score.